Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. So I've got a couple stories to cover. One is a good story. They've ruled 100% that anyone under 18 or 18 to 21 can now own firearms. That was founded by the Ninth Circuit Court, who ruled in a case that actually made it 100% unconstitutional for anyone 18 or older to not be able to buy a firearm. This is a big deal because in New Mexico, they've specifically went after this last session and they didn't get it passed. So with the Ninth Circuit and this being found unconstitutional nationwide now, that probably won't happen. But more disturbing, we have some couple updates that we need to bring up about the ATF. One of them is there's new proposed rule that they're trying to go through, and it's to restrict private sales. So I mentioned this before on the podcast where they were talking about reclassifying what it means to be an FFL. So this is if you sell a gun and you profit from it, they're trying to deem you an FFL person or someone who should have an FFL. And if you do this once every 30 days, they think you should have an FFL. Now, I'm of the volition that if you have a piece of property, it's up to you what you want to do with it. And you should be able to sell it whenever the hell you want to, as long as you know it's not to some shady person. Now, what they're trying to do is the same thing they did with the pistol braces. They're going to put this out to comment. And now's the time to start hitting up your senators and your representatives to try to stop them from doing this. This has made it so wide, this proposed rule change, that even Glenn Beck has covered it. Now, those of us in the 2A that are in the gun tuber space, I guess I'm kind of one of those guys. I kind of watch them and then I kind of report on them. And I do this so that we can kind of keep abreast of the situation right now. And the way it looks right now is that they're trying to put this up like they did for the pistol brace rule, like I said. And there's going to be a moment where we can comment on it and say what we think about this. I honestly think that just like this has been a thing in New Mexico for a while, it's unenforceable. How do you enforce something unless they have a national registry? And that's what they're pushing for, is that there's a national registry that they're trying to push so that they would have a way to see if you sold a gun or you bought a gun and then sold it, because then they would be able to trace it. Now, that's what they're going to use it for, or the way they're going to sell it to us, is that they're going to be tracing firearms so that they can stop them from getting into bad dudes' hands. Now, anyone who knows the ATF has known about the Fast and the Furious debacle, where they tried to trace firearms in something similar to this, and they lost them. And they ended up on the other side of the border, and we ended up having to, well, they're still running around on the other side of the border, and the ATF has no clue where the hell they are. And this is thousands of guns that this has happened to. Well, there still isn't 100% of a gun registry, national gun registry. And without that, they really can't enforce this. Something more pressing to me, because I'm a hand loader and because I understand history, is the ATF has also been getting ready to either propose a rule or to propose a law where they can actually talk about your gunpowder. Now, anyone who knows anything about history knows that in the founding of our country, one of the big things the English tried to do was control where gunpowder went, what it was used for, and how it was regulated in a weird way. It didn't work. And the idea was that if you could control the powder, you could control the arms. Well, the ATF is going hard after this now, where they're wanting to if you have so many pounds of powder, or if you have a pound of powder or more, they're looking at you having to register it with a local fire department or with them so that they can register it with a fire department, because they're using this as a public safety thing. Now, I've asked firefighters before, because, I've had powder. I have had way more powder than I do now. And it's not because of what this rule is proposing. It's just I haven't been reloading in a long time, so I only have like a pound, maybe a pound and a half. what would happen if like 5 to 10 pounds or 20 pounds of smokeless powder were to go off? And basically what I was told by multiple firefighters, it just cause a flare. And then it would burn out. Now, it wouldn't explode necessarily, because once the case in which it was in started to burn, you just get a large flash burn. And that's pretty much what would happen unless you have it enclosed in such a way that the gases can't escape readily. Then you'd have a boom. Now, I asked this because not only was I reloading pretty heavily at the time, but my dad was at the time. And I was curious just because, what would happen if his reloading shed caught fire? Now, Dad had a hell of a lot more powder than I do, because Dad hand-loaded all the damn time. But I think what they're trying to do is what they've done with COVID and everything else. They're going to try to get the FUDs, and they're going to try to get the people that are really afraid of, just taking ownership of themselves. And they're going to try to use public safety, just like they always do with firearms, to try to go after reloading, because it's the one way they can regulate arms in a backdoor way. And they're not wrong. When you control the powder source, you control the ammunition, which means you control the firearms. If you cannot reload, or you cannot have ammunition, your gun's basically a brick. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to go any way they can, hard and heavy, for disarmament of the public citizen, the American citizen. Don't let them do it. So this is, again, where we peacefully protest, and we peacefully talk to our senators and our reps. Personally, I don't think that you doing so is great, but we're at way past the point where even trying to do that is going to do anything. Because let's face it, if you're looking at any political party right now and you think that they're going to save you, they're not. If they were, they would have done something over what's been going on with the stuff we've seen. Not one of them has done anything to push an impeachment towards the current administration. Not despite what's been happening to President Trump. Again, not a huge Trump fan, but it shows the level of engagement they're willing to have. They don't believe it's necessary, or that it's in their wheelhouse, so to speak. They think that they're better than that. When in reality, that is the only way we have to exercise power, through our representatives, is that our representatives should be listening to the people. And it's not happening anymore. So I would say, now's the time, again, as always, to try to peacefully, politely talk to these people. Don't use a form letter. Form letters are fine if they get enough of them, those count. But it's better if you write a professional email or a professional letter to these people and let your feelings known. Now, I've done this already. It does no good in New Mexico, because we're kind of behind the blue wall, and these guys are going to do what they do according to whatever the governor wants them to do. But I encourage you to do it, because if you light them up enough, then they understand that it's probably not a good plan. Don't stop there. Hit every one of the states that you know can do good. Those red states, talk to those red reps, light up the switchboards, and they will actually start moving mountains. They try to. And it's worked in New Mexico when we got the roundhouse involved. If you call the switchboard and you get enough people calling the switchboards, it becomes a nuisance, and then they do something, or it becomes something untenable for them to do. That's the kind of thing we got to kind of do. It's the off season for everything. Everybody's getting ready for a hunt. I just came back, so to speak, or should have came back. I didn't really get to stay out there. But it's a good plan for us to stay abreast of the situation. I'm going to keep it short because we're on a holiday weekend, and I doubt anyone's going to watch this or listen to it tomorrow. Like, share, subscribe, be great.